Childhood trauma determinism. That's what I'm here to talk about today. You go to the therapist, they tell you, oh, because your parents neglected you at the age of 6, that's why you're not an effective partner and you're not succeeding in society. They tell you, oh, all you need is some cognitive behavioral therapy. You just need to retrain your response system and with awareness of your childhood trauma and the active recontextualizing it in your brain, then boom, all of a sudden you can become a model member of society. Now, the thing is, in pop culture, and in a lot of therapy, there's this big focus on this specific type of childhood trauma somebody faced. I went to therapy myself even, and the therapist told me, look, we're trying to find some kind of trauma that happened in your childhood to figure out why you're responding to things this way. And I'm not sitting here telling you that, oh, no, your childhood doesn't matter. But what I'm telling you is it's not because you experienced that as a child that you're just doomed to continue that until you can, by your own power, change your whole nervous system. I'm trying to tell you that it's actually a systemic problem. The competitive, coercive environment of capitalism continuously puts us in a state of fight or flight. Whenever we first were presented with this trauma as children, or maybe another kind of trauma, we started training our response. And the reason that it continues is not because individuals are just not understanding that, oh, you just need to reframe your mind. It's because you're still facing that trauma under capitalism. And so this is where a Substack article that I really appreciated comes up, where Freya India talks about maybe, we're not anxiously attached. Maybe we're not in these little boxes of attachment styles. In the article, they talk about how this concept of attachment styles, while it initially, started out as a credible scientific thing, has become a cultural phenomenon where people are using it to explain completely rational behaviors and completely rational responses to a crazy world, and to try to say, oh, this is why, because my childhood created this who I am today, so now this is who I am at all, but I just need to reframe it. The author actually goes in to how women internalize this and use it to justify their partner's behavior by saying it's just because of their attachment style that they're reacting the way they are. Coming from a woman herself. So if a woman herself is telling you, okay, we as women are internalizing this self-help attachment styles cultural theory, and we're using it to justify the way that people are treating us. And what does that tie into? The patriarchy. As I said, I'm still developing this theory, but the scientific working papers are up, and I bring in a lot of studies, historical examples, like I said, advancements in neuroscience to empirically demonstrate how capitalism is actually reproducing this trauma and causing these mental health problems that we see in our society, and even the most extreme ones. And it's because capitalism is set up to legally enforce this competition and coercion, which forces the body into a fight or flight response. Now, the thing about it is people will say, oh, well, I was born under capitalism and I'm not competitive, coercive, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, think about it like this. We have the larger macro social environment, socio-economic environment of capitalism, which is continuously enforcing this coercive and competitive nature within us. But we also have microclimates, these little micro environments. And within a micro environment, we can have a completely different social structure and relationship between the members. You can go to church and feel a sense of community, or you can go out and hang out with your friends and decide things democratically, but you can be in a system where you have no real right to decide the legislation that governs your life. So I'm going to be making a lot more videos introducing this theory. I started this channel to make videos explaining this theory and also more broadly looking at our world and our society from a dialectical, materialist, psychological, and sociological perspective, because I loved psychology all growing up as a kid. Always was super interested in it because I wanted to understand myself. I wanted to understand, why am I so crazy, And then as I got older, I'm like, okay, society is affecting me, And I'm like, okay, I like sociology, I like Marxism, I like Leninism. And then I'm like, just seeing the way that pop culture treats society and the way that these different disciplines fall short in our Western academia today, I want to advocate for a bridge between these fields of psychology, sociology, and neuroscience. And I think it points to a very concrete picture that we actually need to restructure our environments to be cooperative spaces of enabling agency expression. And so I hope that this makes sense to people. And please tell me any thoughts you have in the comments. I'm always open for a constructive conversation, so please let me know what you think.